Ed.
Hey Jay, how you doing today?
Well, I'm great. I'm so excited to be talking to you. I've been excited about it all morning. So welcome to the show.
Wonderful to meet you and talk to you in this way.
Yes, and so excited to be talking with you about a book that I am going to run out and get. I'm bummed that I didn't have time to get it before we talked. It is called To the Temple of Tranquility and Step on It. And it's been out for a couple of weeks now. How are you feeling? Because I know book releases can have there's a lot of buildup. Are you excited to have the stories out there finally?
Very excited. It's something that's been percolating in my mind for a while. Finally put down to, print through my computer starting a couple of years ago. And it was fun to write. Great to relive a lot of these memories. Painful to relive some of them, but it's all part of this Rich Tapestry that's 74 years old now and was in need of some airing out, this Rich Tapestry. And so I told some stories that I've told many times, told some that I've never told, and had some surprises at the end of the book. There's a big, I won't do a spoiler right now, but there's some things that have gone on in my life medically that were quite shocking to me, but it's all worked out for the best. I'm doing fine today is all I'll say. And medical science has come a long way, and I'm doing very, very well.
We are very happy to hear that. The book is about family, friends, addiction, failure, and redemption. It covers a lot, and I know that it covers it in your voice, which it's so important. I've written a book myself, Ed, and sometimes those editors want it a certain way, and you have to fight for it to be you, or to be authentic. Was there anything about the book that made you feel a little too vulnerable?
No, once the good people like my agent David Bigliano got a hold of it, and then Hachette Book Group, they're really great. They had very few, major changes, if any. It was all kind of minor stuff. Maybe this gives a wrong impression when you say that, and maybe you want to do it in this way, but I thought they were going to try to make chapter 3, chapter 1, and make chapter 1, chapter 17, and move around the order, which I really liked the order the way I wrote it. They did none of that. They didn't mess with any of the building blocks of the memoir. They just had some relatively minor things, which had a big impact because they're very smart people over there. They published a few books in their day, and they came up with the notion of the cover. The photograph of the cover they found on the internet, I did not give them that picture because it was me at a very young age. And I thought, why are they using that? I don't look like that. But the truth is, the guy described in the book does look like that. Most of the book takes place in the life of that guy who's on the cover, that younger man. So it was entirely appropriate to do that. And I'm very happy with my publisher and everything that's happened. It's selling well, and I'm elated.
Well, we're happy to hear that. Hachette Books has a huge distribution center here in Indianapolis, and I work with the Make-A-Wish Foundation, and every year they make a huge donation to this big fundraiser here. Every time I see their name, I know they're doing great work with the books they're publishing, but it's always nice to hear that they're great to work with for the authors as well.
If anybody wanted me to write another book, I'd sure do it with them. They're terrific.
When talking this morning with everyone about how excited we were to have you on the show, I always like to go to some of the fan questions, and we did talk about with the strike going on, being really respectful. There's so much about your work that people love, but a lot of the questions were just about this interesting life that you have had, and that with your dad, you kind of grew up around Hollywood. You've spent time, and in your book, you tell, stories of Marlon Brando and Meryl Streep. One of the questions that we had was from Kevin, who wanted to know if you could take some time to share a little bit about your interactions with Carrie Fisher. He's a huge Star Wars fan.
She was a dear friend of mine. I met her after my dad did a movie with her mother, Debbie Reynolds. The movie was called The Unsinkable Molly Brown. I was about 14 or 15 at the time. Carrie was 9 or 10. She was a good deal younger. So there wasn't much room for a friendship back then because of the age difference. But later on, I got a call from her. She had been in rehab and called me from rehab because she knew of my struggle and that I had gotten sober years before. So we became more than friends. We became like brother and sister from that age. You know, what age she was in the 1980s till she passed away in 2016. She was a dear, dear friend of mine. I write about her extensively in the book, and her genius as an actress and as a writer. We miss her still. A lot of her friends still gather together in her name and have laughs because she was one of the funniest people any of us met. And I still think of her often. Carrie Fisher was a good one.
Thank you for sharing that with us. You talk in the book pretty openly about, as you mentioned, your addiction issues. And did I hear correctly that John Belushi was a dear friend who had a big impact on helping you through that time?
He did. John was very concerned about my drinking, and he and Judy dragged me out of the El Presidente Hotel. I was there in the bar drinking an amount of liquor that was of great concern to John and Judy both. And they went, "You got to see some of the town, man. You can't just sit here and drink." So I knew I was far gone when John was worried about me, and he was a good friend and a great influence. You know, people remember and talk about that, you know, side of his life. And I just prefer to remember him as a great, great comedian in all those wonderful movies and a great and sobering influence on me. So I miss him still. He was fantastic. John was.
Do you have any messages now, Ed? I know that the book itself is inspiring in your journey, but we have so many people right now dealing in mental health issues and in addiction and such. Do you have any words of wisdom for people who are maybe feeling that same pain right now?
There's a saying, "I can't, but we can." You know, I could never do it alone. I kept trying to get sober alone, and it didn't. I could never make it work because it's very hard. People do it, but it's quite difficult. But with a group of people, and there are many support groups out there, and the 12-step groups specifically have had great success. So I got involved with that. That's when things changed. You know, I started to use those principles in my life, and I also started to read a wonderful writer called Alan Watts. And he wrote many great books, not the least of which is a book called This Is It. And that basically is the subtitle of my life. This is it. It's not going to happen tomorrow or later today or next week. It's happening right now. I certainly remember the past and plan for the future. One must do that. But I spend very little time dwelling on the past or, you know, wondering what's going to happen to me in the future. I try to be present in this moment right now. Here it comes, KJ. So I have every single thing that I need. And that really can lead to a good deal of serenity. And you can't rush tranquility. People try. I tried to get tranquility from a bottle of vodka. So you can't, the temple of tranquility, and step on it. Don't do it that way. Let tranquility happen at its own.
We are on with Ed Begley Jr. and talking about the book that is out, To the Temple of Tranquility and Step on It. Ed, I am also the kitty correspondent for Pet Pals TV. And Martha had said to me, "You've got to talk to him." I follow him on Twitter, and earlier this year, there was a big thread going about cats being obsessed with watching Ed. Not sure if you recall that, but you had responded that you were available for pet sitting. Is it fun for you when you get those fan tweets? And I mean, certainly, see a cat that is watching you on TV and obsessed with you?
I love those connections with the fans. That's the great thing about social media. I know there's some challenges with social media, but I really have a very good and healthy relationship with the people that are my followers. You know, I don't have any disturbed people or anything like that. I have just a very nice, warm and welcoming fan base. And so that's very good. I love the thing with the cats. I don't know how they got a cat to spend more than 2 seconds looking at me, probably fascinated with the train wreck of it all. But I'm glad that somebody cares. Maybe the cats will somehow get a message to my wife and tell her I'm worth looking at.
And before I let you go, speaking of cats and the animals of the world, you have been a lifelong passionate advocate for the environment. Where did that come from, and how do you feel we've done, being someone that's been involved since the 70s in environmental awareness?
It happened because I grew up in smoggy LA. So after 20 years of that, 2 decades, someone was, proposing we do something called Earth Day. And one of the things they're going to do is clean up the air. I went, sign me up, because I'd been living in that horrible choking smog that seared your lungs, damaged your lungs as a young person. So I got involved, and know this, KJ, this is important to note. We have plenty of challenges and things we must fix, climate change and many other challenges environmentally. But in the LA area, we have 4 times the cars since 1970, millions more people, but a fraction of the smog. We did it. We've proven that you can do it, by cleaner power plants and cleaner cars and cleaner everything. So it can be done. There's still people in the LA area that have some smog to deal with near the ports of Long Beach and LA. We need to fix that. People near the fulfillment centers with all the trucks idling all the time. We're going to fix that too. But we've proven that we can do it. So let's get to it. And I mean now.
Thank you. And I this conversation it's so inspiring, and I love you're practical about it, right? Let's focus on the things that we've got done and know that we can do more. That's such a great message for an overwhelming time, I think, for some of us in this crazy world that we're in. The book is out, by the way, To the Temple of Tranquility and Step on It. Are you doing any signings? I did have a couple of questions on how maybe they could get an autographed copy of your book, Ed.
Many people online and at a lot of Barnes and Nobles have signed copies available. I've been going and doing some signings. I did a wonderful signing in New Jersey. I did one at Barnes & Noble at the Grove in LA. I've got more coming up. I'll be at the Chicago Humanities Festival on the 28th, and I'll be at Powell's Book next Monday, the 23rd of this very month, October. That is the very next Monday. I'll be there at 7 at night at Powell's Books in beautiful Portland, Oregon.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Ed. It's been a pleasure to talk with you. Continued success. And anytime you want to come back on the show, we'd love to have you.
I will be back.
Thanks for joining us for another celebrity interview. Of course, the KJ Today Show isn't just about talking to celebs. It's about hanging out with you. Join us live on Wednesday nights for pop culture, people to know, and pets. The KJ Today Show on YouTube. Subscribe and watch live Wednesday nights at 7.